In today's video, we're flipping some thrifted treasures for my fall decor. Here we go. This is one of the flips I'm going to do. Now, my kids picked this for me at a thrift store years ago. So I've always had it, but I've always thought it was a little creepy. It plays music. Well, I can't play it for you because I'll get a copyright strike, but it's very dark. So I was like, you know what? I'm never going to sell this because my kids gave it to me and I don't like to use it in its current state. So I'm going to go with the Halloween theme. I'm going to spray it a flat black and do a little decorating on it and use it as a Halloween piece. And I think that'll be cute, and then it gives it a purpose. And then I don't feel bad about holding on to something I'm not using, but I also give a purpose to something that the kids gave me. So that's one of my projects. So let's go ahead and spray paint this with flat black. All right, I found my flat protective enamel. This is Rust-Oleum. I usually use the 2X. I think this is older, but I'm gonna see if it still works. And I'm gonna wipe it down first, and then I'll go ahead and spray it up. This thrift flip video is part of the Flippin Friday collaboration hosted by Jamie from Border Bananas. If you're not familiar with her channel, I will link her in my description box below, as well as the playlist, so you can check out all the other videos entered for this collab. I waited till the next day to do the embellishing because I had spray painted kind of in the evening and I was tired. So the next day I pulled from my stash these 3 wooden embellishments. One's a pumpkin, one says Happy Halloween, and one is a ghost. You can get these at Michael's or at other craft stores. I had these in my stash. I don't remember if someone sent them to me or if I found them like at the Goodwill outlet bins or at a yard sale. Either way, I was quite pleased not to have to paint anything. I decided I would put the little ghost on the front of the windmill and then the Happy Halloween as like, you know, overarching over the windmill, and then the pumpkins along the fence. And I did use for this part of the project both E6000 and my hot glue, just like I do all the time. The hot glue helps to hold it right away, and the E6000 gives that permanent hold. And once I had all my embellishments glued on, this is what it looked like. And then I decided to get this cutie little set of fairy lights. I buy these at the Dollar Tree when I see them. You don't always see them, but when I see them, I pick them up. So I have plenty in my stash. And I stuck the battery pack in the bottom of this little piece where, like, I guess it's open because of the music box. I don't really know. And I just wrapped them around. I didn't permanently attach them. This way I can replace them if I need to, or whatever the case would be. And I just kind of wrapped them where I thought it might look kind of spooky and cool. And here's what it looks like. I love this thing. I'm so glad I upcycled it. I did press play here. I wish you could hear how creepy it is. If it weren't for copyright, I would let you hear it, but you'll have to trust me. Here's another project I'm taking on. I got this at the Goodwill outlet bins. If you're not familiar, at the Goodwill outlet bins, you thrift by the pound. So everything you find, you pay by the pound. This is actually fairly lightweight, and so I probably didn't pay very much for it. I think my Goodwill bins is like $1.69 a pound, and this is definitely not a pound. So I probably paid like $1 for it, I would guess. It's in kind of rough shape. It is wood, and it's definitely old. You can see the wood here is in really bad shape. I suppose you could, if you were really committed, you could use clay to kind of rebuild these, but I am not committed to that. I am going to paint it and put a piece of fall decor in the middle, probably like a piece of scrapbook paper with like a pumpkin on it. So that's another project I'm doing. This is the paint that I love. I don't know that I have enough to finish this, but if I don't, I would buy more tomorrow. I use this stuff all the time. It is Rust-Oleum 2X Satin Blossom White. Well, that worked great. This paint is so good. This paint is so good. It's at the very end of the can and it still did a great job. I love this paint. Highly recommend it. No, I'm not sponsored. For the next two projects, I'm going to be using acrylic markers that were sent to me by ARTEZA. I love these things. This is actually the second set that I have from them because I use them so frequently and my kids use them a lot on arts and crafts projects. So I love the markers because there's a bunch of different colors. This is actually the Brights set, but they come with these different tips and you can switch out the tips. My favorite tip is the chisel tip. That's the one I use pretty much all the time. Sometimes I'll use like the rounded tip when it doesn't matter, but I most often use the chisel tip, especially because I do a lot of my own lettering. They give you this little tweezer so that you can change the tips really easily. For these projects, I'm going to be using the black one, the white one, as well as some of the brown ones. So that's why I was just pulling out the ones that I need. And if you're interested in any of these products, I will put links in the description box. They are affiliate links. So if you purchase anything from the ARTEZA links, I do receive a small commission at no extra cost to you. To complete my thrift flip on this frame, I had my painted frame as well as a pumpkin from the Dollar Tree, these two pieces of scrapbooking paper that came in this pack from the Target dollar spot. That was a great deal. It was only $1 for the pack. And then I also had a piece of foam board from a scrap from the Dollar Tree. That was like the larger pieces of foam board that you can buy. I just have a piece that I'm going to cut. So I took the original cardboard backing that came in the frame and I traced it onto the foam board so that I could cut out a piece of foam board that would fit just right into the opening of the frame. Once I had cut it out, I put the cardboard back on the foam board just to see if I had gotten it right. And I did have to trim a little bit because I wanted to make sure I had a piece that was going to give me a really nice fit. Then I matched up the seams of the plaid so that I made sure the plaid was going in the same direction. And I used this Zig glue. It's from my scrapbooking stuff. I'm sure they have similar products like this still at Michael's, but I have had this for a while. And I just glued the two pieces together, making a really nice seam. Now you will see the seam in the final product. I don't care that much. You could buy a 10 by 10 piece of paper, but I really liked this pattern. So I just wanted to use this and it wasn't quite big enough to, fit in the frame by itself. So I didn't mind gluing two together, but of course you can always do something different if you were to make something like this. So you really can't see the seam very much, and that was good. And then I attached the piece of paper to the foam board. And then I used my scissor to just trim off the excess. And then I set that aside and I got my dollar store pumpkin. And at first I thought I was going to paint the back of the pumpkin, but it was so challenging to get this sticker off that I decided to just paint the front. So I got some sandpaper and I sanded down the letters that were on the front of the pumpkin. And then I just painted over them and you actually wound up not being able to see the letters through the paint at all. I did like 2.5 coats of paint. And I somehow lost the footage of me actually painting it, but this is what it looked like once it was painted. Then I got my ARTEZA markers and just a scrap piece of paper, and you have to shake the marker really well, and then you have to like press it down a lot to get it started. And once the paint was flowing, I used it to color in the stem of the pumpkin because I had gotten some paint on the stem. Plus I had taken some raffia off of the stem because the Dollar Tree had a piece of raffia there, so their paint job wasn't the best. So I was kind of touching up what they had already done. Then I took my lighter brown ARTEZA marker and I got that marker started, and I just added some details to my stem. I wanted the stem to look like it wasn't just painted solid brown. This actually worked better than I thought it was going to. You can't really see it so well. I'll show it in a minute, but I really liked how it turned out. Then I got my white ARTEZA marker and I put one of the chisel tips that I was telling you about into it. And this time it was important because I was going to be doing lettering. And once I got that switched and then got the marker started, I wrote "Hey Pumpkin" on my little pumpkin. And, you know, I don't have a Cricut, so these markers work really well for all of my hand lettering projects. They flow really well. I do have good handwriting. I know that's an issue. Some people don't like their handwriting. But here I was figuring out how many letters are in pumpkin because you want to make sure you kind of center it. My biggest issue with hand lettering is I always like tilt my word up, and I did the same thing here. I should draw guidelines, but I'm too lazy. But, you know, for the most part, it turned out fine. And I put a little heart underneath, which sort of disguises that I went upward with my lettering. I also do my little scrapbooking dots, I call them. I was a scrapbooker back in the 90s, and we always did these little dots around all the words. And so I did some of those too. Here I'm just switching out the tip because I wanted to do some brown dots on the pumpkin as well because I had splattered a little paint. So I just put some brown dots on the pumpkin too, and all was good. Then I was just planning out where I wanted everything to be once I started gluing. Always good to plan out before you glue. And I decided I would put a little bow on the pumpkin instead of replacing the raffia that was there. So I used a little piece of leftover ribbon that I had from the Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree had these great ribbons this year. I never saw them again. I saw them once in the beginning of the season and not again. So I'm glad that I grabbed them when I did. So I went ahead and I used hot glue to glue my little piece of foam into my frame first. And I didn't feel the need to use any other glue because this is paper on wood and it usually sticks really well. So I glued my little foam board in. And, you know, I can pop that out if I want to change this up for another season, but I probably won't. I will probably just pack this away with my fall decor, and that will be just fine. And then I used hot glue again on the back of the pumpkin and set that into the frame. And then I also used hot glue to glue the ribbon to the top of the stem. And here's what it looked like. I love it. I did go back and put a piece of burlap on the back of the frame because, you know, I always like to finish the backs of my projects. And then I used a little piece of raffia and attach that to the back of it so that I would have a little hanger. And so here's what it looks like hanging on my wall. I was at Tuesday Morning several weeks back. I put a haul from there on a shop with me on my other channel, and I saw some flat gray candlesticks, which I don't know if they were flat. They might, you know what it is? They looked like enamelware, so they did have a little bit of a sheen to them, and they're metal, and they just reminded me of these, which I already had in my stash at home. And when I saw those, I loved them so much that I decided I'm going to paint these gray to kind of dupe what I saw at Tuesday Morning. They're very heavy because they are metal. And for the fall, I really want to use them near my fireplace. I usually put pumpkins on candlesticks, and I haven't done that yet. So I think that's what I'll use these for this year. I will tell you, this has not been my favorite spray paint. Probably gonna take a few coats, but I need to work through it so I can just be done with it. And then I will go back to just the Rust-Oleum 2X and not buy this again. Whoa. Okay, that's bad. I think there's something wrong with this spray paint. It has like little chunks coming out. So I'm gonna wait. I will sand this down with some sandpaper and get new stuff. Okay, it's the next day. I went and got the paint that I like. The Rust-Oleum 2X Ultra Cover Paint and Primer. I got it from Target. It was $2.99. Works so much better. I sanded off the yucky paint from yesterday, and you can see it's going on much better. Plus, this is a lot closer to the color that I saw on the ones in Tuesday Morning. So I'm really pleased with how this is turning out.
I did a touch-up coat, and once they were done, I got my ARTEZA black acrylic marker. And I've done this before. I just used that and kind of turned the candlestick to put the black line on it to make it look like enamelware. And there's really not much to it. I didn't make it look like roughed up enamelware. I just kind of liked the way it looked with the simple black line. And then I used some more of my Dollar Tree ribbon and I tied a little bow around each of them. And I didn't use any glue or anything, so I will be able to take this off and use them for other times of the year. But that's what they looked like with the little bows on them. And here's what they look like at my fireplace. I forgot to film this during the day, so sorry for the nighttime lighting, but I'm super pleased with how they look with my little pumpkins on it. Those the orange pumpkin my kids and I made from toilet paper rolls years and years ago. And I think they look terrific. And that's all that I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed these thrift flips for Flippin Friday. And I hope you'll check out the playlist, which I will link in my description box below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.